I think that the easiest place to start is Group A.
Yeah.
And we have to start with India.
Yes. Well, it was match days 3 and 4, wasn't it? And they played and in some groups, there were almost double headers, weren't there?
Yeah.
It wasn't consistent. It depends how the fixtures were spat out. But India had, ahead of this break, their match days 3 and 4 were both against Afghanistan. So an incredible opportunity to essentially secure the top two, one of the top two spots in Group A, and secure their passage through to the third round of World Cup qualification and Asian Cup, right?
Yeah, you get through.
Top
if you
two, yeah.
You're into the AFC Asian Cup as well.
Yeah, that's right. And you got to remember, this is an Afghanistan team that has gone through an incredibly challenging period with now again, you're going to have to correct me on this, mate, but corruption within the FA that led to allegations of corruption, within it, which led to a massive player revolt, and boycott, and the change of manager. And the manager left, right? So they've had a change of manager. Westwood's come in. The squad that they've got together now it's about 70% of them are new players, 75% of them are new players because of the refusal to play. So they have to say that they have been up against it would probably be being particularly sort of kind to their situation. Now, going into that, Afghanistan hadn't claimed a single point in World Cup in the second round of World Cup qualification after just scraping through the first round. First game 0-0, second game in India, and Afghanistan came away with a 2-1 victory. I did not see that coming at all, and Igor Stimac, ex-West Ham centre-back, under enormous pressure.
I think you'd have to say rightly so. I mean, like you say, touching on Afghanistan, you're in a group here with Qatar, Kuwait, India, Afghanistan. Afghanistan started this campaign with an 8-1 defeat to Qatar and then a 4-0 defeat to Kuwait. And look, understandable given the circumstances. Qatar, although at the World Cup they were obviously one of the worst teams, still a pretty solid outfit. I still expect them to qualify overall potentially for this World Cup.
They won the Asian Cup, didn't they?
They, of course, they won the.
So they are they're a strong side in that continent, right? But you've just said there that Afghanistan, they started with an 8-1 defeat, then they lost to Qatar, then they lost 4-0 to Kuwait. Kuwait were beaten 1-0 by India a week before they beat Afghanistan. So that's the sort of level. As like if you're using Kuwait as a comparison between Afghanistan and India in this World Cup qualification campaign, in this group so far. So for Afghanistan to get a 0-0 in the first game, that's a really solid result. But for India to take the lead, Sunil Chetri scoring his 94th international goal on what was his 150th cap, the 39-year-old. So we're talking sort of negatively about India here, but that's massive props to an international goal-scoring legend, by the way. So he gave them the lead, and then 2 goals in the last 15 minutes saw the tide turn on its head. Are they going to sack Stimac, do you think?
Well, this is the whole question. I believe that there is a meeting going on between sort of the heads of the Indian football FA equivalent, as it were. I would be surprised if they don't. Look, we're talking.
Or do you think they'll just play out? Do you think they'll just play out the remaining games in June of this group of qualification and then see how they get on? Because they play Kuwait again.
Risk it.
Kuwait now are in with a shot, by the way, because Kuwait.
So are Afghanistan.
Yeah, but Afghanistan and India both play Qatar in one of the final 2, whereas Kuwait just have 2 matches against India. So so Group A, it just leaves it wide open, doesn't it? And I think that's completely the fault of the Indian team there to not grab that opportunity.
Look, I think that whether he sees out the rest of this tournament in June or not, and I'm nothing against the guy personally, but Stimac I think does have to go. I think that there's all sorts of problems.
Sorry, Arsenal Fan TV have called. They want their presenter back.
You're talking about an association that, whilst it may have its problems, and there isn't obviously the kind of grassroots level and proper league structure all the way up in India. You are talking about a team that basically rigged the games that they would play so that they would leapfrog Lebanon.
Come on. You stop me with an allegedly. We can't start throwing out rigged. They were sneaky with the Lebanon fixtures.
They set up games against Lebanon to leapfrog them in the rankings.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
which is a completely true statement.
Yeah,
Games that were not sanctioned by FIFA through any tournament, they set up tournaments to leapfrog. Now, all right, they did still go and do it by beating them, but they leapfrogged them, got inside the top 100 in the world, so they'd get a better draw. In our preview of this round, we described it as the draw of all draws.
I know. I said that. You've snipped that into a short. So there is a clip of me saying this is the draw of all draws for India.
And
so
the caption of that is, "Can India qualify for the World Cup?"
Oh goodness!
That's what we called it.
Try. We are not in any way a clickbaity couple, are we?
Well, we try not to be, within reason. Yeah,
within reason, but that does now look quite clickbaity, doesn't it? After the last, I have to say, they should be beating them across 2 legs, man. Across 2 games, man. Like,
well, yeah.
Can India
again,
qualify?
We don't mean this disrespectfully to Afghanistan either. You know, it's not meant in any other way other than the fact that India, they've now dropped actually to 117 in the FIFA World Rankings. They're dropping like a stone.
Sorry. Did you hear my voice there?
Damn.
I did not know that.
They really are plummeting, and that's before this international break. And of course, Afghanistan, you know, I don't know off the top of my head where Afghanistan are, but, you know, sufficiently low enough in the rankings that will hammer India even further in terms of the FIFA World Rankings.
I can tell you.
I believe it's around 170, but it might be higher.
They are 158.
Oh, 158, so a bit higher, right? So they are a bit higher, but that's still a big difference. And India, with a draw and a defeat there, will drop even lower. And basically, the trajectory that the India national team is on, you know, if they don't forget, if they don't get out of this group, if they don't come top 2, that means they're not guaranteed, you know, AFC Asian Cup qualification. They then have to go through the other route of that. And I just think it really bucks the trend of what a lot of people hoped would be kind of reaching a peak in Indian football. You know, the expanded World Cup, a real chance for them to be one of the fringe teams that maybe qualified. You know,
I agree.
You still have your Japans, your South Koreas, your Irans, you know, and Australia, Saudi. You know, it's still a stacked region in terms of the top teams. But India were one of those teams before this tournament that you thought, okay, they're a fringe side. They've got a decent shout. And again, not disrespecting Afghanistan or Kuwait or even Qatar, this group, they should have no issues coming second in. And I do think that I understand the frustrations of the Indian football fans. And I think that, you know, we're going to move on to talk about some of the other teams and Vietnam who had a similar situation. They sacked their manager immediately in this international break. And I would be surprised if Stimac does stay. And if he does stay, then I don't see him getting past June.
No. Wow. Stimac out. You heard it here from Tom first. India Fan TV.
Do you agree? Do you agree? Is the question.
Just worth noting, they're tied with Guinea-Bissau as the biggest droppers in FIFA World Rankings this year. 15 places that they've dropped already, which is interesting.
If you enjoyed this clip, then be sure to check out the full podcast right here. And don't forget to subscribe to DNQ Football.